Hey, I'm ChristopherJMUA and welcome back to my channel. Unless you've never been here, of course, then welcome. I'm so glad you've stopped by. Today we are reviewing the Natasha Denona Glam palette. I've seen so many videos of people using this palette and I wasn't going to get it or use it because it's neutrals. You know, you guys know that I love my brights, but I also do love a beautiful, natural, neutral, wearable look. So I did decide to go ahead and get this and review it for you guys and myself. So if you also want to see what this palette looks like and you're curious as to what kind of look can be created with it and you'd like to see what initial first impressions I have as well as all of the live swatches for the palette, then stay exactly where you are, keep doing exactly what you're doing, and keep on watching. So here's what the outside of the unit carton looks like. Pretty typical for Natasha Denona. My Sunrise palette looks just about the same. Actually, my Sunrise palette is the only other Natasha Denona palette I've ever tried, and this was the same price as the Sunrise palette, that being $65. Then on the back, it shows the shade names up here on the corner, and then it has the ingredient list of the shades on the right side. Then if we open the unit carton, we are greeted by a very luxurious looking palette. It's very reflective. I'm sure fingerprints are going to show up very easily on it. That's going to get really grimy really fast. But without the fingerprint, it does look very beautiful, just like the Sunrise palette. Then on the back, you can see we have these little holes for a pen to fit through so that you can pop out the pans of the magnetic palette so that you can really customize your own layout of palette or move them to a magnetic palette by themselves. Then if we open the palette, we do have a protective sheet. Oh no, we don't have a protective sheet on the inside, so we don't have to worry about that. And here's the actual shades. Very, very cool toned. Very cool toned. So it looks like we've got 15 shades in here, a mix of matte and metallic, as well as duochrome, and it looks like what's called chroma crystal eyeshadows. Now I'm gonna zoom you guys in and we're gonna get started on swatches. The first shade is the shade Center Eyelid. Then the shade Outer Eyelid, Inner Corner, Crease, the shade Transition, Smoke, Blend, Lash Line, Inner Corner, Center Eyelid, Outer Eyelid, Center Eyelid, Outer Eyelid, and Brow Bone. And with that, that's every shade from the Natasha Denona Glam palette. As always, I will insert photos of the swatches, one with flash here, one without flash here. And here is a video close-up of every single swatch. Those swatches were so beautiful, except for the shade Lash Line. That shade did not swatch beautifully at all. It was actually kind of patchy. But we all know that swatches mean literally nothing when it comes to the performance of an eyeshadow. Hence the name eyeshadow and not swatch shadow or arm shadow. Eyeshadow pertains to performance on the eyes. And with that being said, the layout of this palette and the shade names, obviously you notice that they were a little different. It is very interesting the way that this is laid out. It's pretty much made to set up your crease with matte shades, and then they're giving you a few different looks with the shimmers. So it seems like that's kind of how they're presenting it with the way that they organize the shades and the shade names. And I mostly love that. The idea of the names is cute. I like it. It's okay to help with someone if you don't have a lot of experience with where to place your eyeshadows and how to use them. So I am going to follow the instructions that are on the palette, and I'm going to start by using this Morphe M573 brush and go into the shade Transition. This looks like it would make a beautiful wedding eyeshadow palette. And I'm essentially just filling this shade everywhere. You could almost say I'm setting my eyeshadow base with my transition shade, which is sort of perfect for this shade because it doesn't deepen anything too much and it doesn't really change the color of anything on my lid. It just kind of sets it in place. You can sort of see that it deepened it up just a little bit in the crease there, but it's not a lot. Nothing dramatic. Since the transition shade is now applied pretty much everywhere, I'm going to use this Morphe M200 pointed blending brush and go into the shade Crease. And this shade is just going to go in my crease. Since it's just a slight bit deeper than the transition shade, it should just work on deepening the crease little by little so that I can start to add a little bit more definition. But for my skin tone, it's kind of the perfect crease shade for that glam kind of look because it's soft. It's gonna give me definition without being too dramatic and taking it to like a nighttime smoky kind of look, but it will still make my eye look bigger and just give me that definition that my eye needs. Now I'm gonna use my L'Oreal Los Angeles L19 flat brush and go into the shade Outer Eyelid. I'm glad I'm putting this on the screen because that was like 3 shades just then. So you're welcome for knowing what shade I was just talking about. And with this shade, I'm just gonna put it on my outer eyelid. Pretty much my outer corner, like my outer V area. I'm gonna just pat it on that whole section until I get up to where my crease is. And I'm gonna stop right at that point, pressing it in. That really didn't have a whole lot of impact. It definitely is a shimmer shade. There is a reflect to it. It's just not super dramatic. That's okay though, because it is the outer eyelid and I do want the outer eyelid to look like it's receding rather than coming forward. So it does make sense for it not to be as dramatic. That shade does actually pack quite a punch if you build it up layer by layer by layer, but I did stop instead of continuing to build it up because I didn't want it to be too shimmery. Like I said, I don't want it to stand out nearly as much as I think it could stand out. So now I'm going to use this Morphe X Coca-Cola other brush that's kind of shaped like that. And this time I'm going to go into the shade Center Eyelid. And with this shade, I'm going to put it all on the inner half of my eyelid. Not specifically only on the center, but I am gonna take it to the center. Oh, that is gorgeous. Can you say glam? Wow. And I'm just gonna pat that outer lid shade into that center eyelid shade. Make sure that they have a seamless transition. I've got to admit, I'm kind of impressed. I didn't even cut the crease and it looks like I did, just because that shimmer was able to go on opaque enough to make a clean layer. And it looks pretty gorgeous. Now I'm going to use the Sigma E15 flat definer brush and go into the shade Lash Line. And with this shade, I'm going to, as you might have guessed, go onto my lash line. Crazy, I know. Living in a strange world, aren't we? Really though, I'm just gonna take this and press it right into my lash line, literally into my lashes, like the brush bristles are going into my lashes at the same time, and I'm just kind of wiggling the brush. And you can see how it just kind of barely adds a tone there, almost like I have mascara on. You'll see as I go. Do you see how much of a difference that makes? It just closes off the eye so much more. It makes your lashes look bigger, it makes your lash line look bigger, and it makes it look like your eyes are just more defined. I mean, really, it's just tight lining, but it makes the world of a difference. Also, it really helps on those days that if you want to put falsies on and you have the lash band that ends before your actual inner corner and you don't want to make it look cut off. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Where you have the inner corner of your eyes and then your lash band will be like wonky sticking out at the side. If you have that happen sometimes, you can take a brush like this and just follow your falsie lash line and create a new lash line with a dark gray or a black or a dark brown, and nobody will ever know the difference. It just looks like your lash line is a little higher, that's all. I have now finished the lash line, and I really like the way this looks so far. It's very glam, as the palette entails. This is a very beautiful work vibe. I would definitely wear this to work. Honestly, I would wear any of these shades to work, but I really like how the base of this palette is pretty much perfect for any look on someone with light to light medium skin. Now, the last thing I like to do on the upper portion of the eye look before I do anything else is go in with this Morphe M416 brush and go into the only shade called Brow Bone. Brow Bone looks like it's going to be a little bit too warm for this look, but I'm going to try it anyway. Well, it's okay. It's not too bad. Yes, it is a little warm, but I can deal with it. It's not too stressful. Brow Bone is done. That reflect is just gorgeous. Okay, so now that the top portion of my eyes are done, I'm gonna go ahead and go off camera and do my face makeup. Whenever I come back, we can work on the lower lash line and tie the rest of the eye look together. That way I can give you my final thoughts on the Natasha Denona Glam palette. So I will see you guys in just a moment. And now my face makeup is applied completely, and let's go ahead and finish off the rest of the eye look. We're gonna move on to the lower lash line. And for the lower lash line, I'm going to begin by using this Lavish Eye Shading Brush and go into the shade Blend. And now, just to ensure continuity, I'm going back in with the same Morphe M200 brush that I used earlier in the shade Crease, and I'm going back into the shade Crease. But with this brush being such a tapered, pointed brush, I mean, it gets pretty sharp up there. I'm gonna use the very tip of the brush to try and get more of a targeted application to blend out the blend shade. And for the very last step, I'm going to use my Marc Jacobs Highliner in the shade Dove Affair. I didn't realize it was called that. And I'm going to use that in my waterline, but then I'm also going to use the same Sigma Flat Definer E15 brush that I used earlier in the shade Lash Line, and use Lash Line to blend out the eyeliner that I apply on the lower lash line. So that way I still have kind of this cool muted tone in the waterline, but I can still blend it out with more of a deep cool brown, so it will kind of tie in with the rest of the look. Now, that absolutely gorgeous eyeliner is applied. So I'm gonna take the flat definer brush now and go right up to those lashes and just start buffing. Starting on the outer edge, by the way, just so none of that darkness gets too close up to the inner corner. Oh, that just finishes it off so perfectly. I love it. And now for the very last, but certainly not the very least, I'm gonna go into the shade Inner Corner. And I bet you can't guess where I'm gonna put this shade. I think on my inner corner would be good. I'm not gonna spray the brush or anything, I'm just gonna put it right on. And that's it for the eyeshadow. So I want to go ahead and finish off my lower lashes and my brows off camera. Once I completely finish, I will be right back to give my final thoughts on the palette. And here we are with the completely complete finished look. I feel like I look like I work at a department store. That's kind of how I feel. It's very glam, very chic, very who is she, if you will. I really like it, I really do. Like I said before, I don't know that if someone with deeper skin is really gonna get a whole lot of benefit out of this. I mean, I would imagine that you could get a wash of color or a wash of shimmer over the lids. I just don't know how much defining you're gonna do with some of these matte shades, and that's a real bummer. And I would imagine anyone with medium or above skin, you'd really be able to use this palette for just about any kind of glammy neutral look you want to create. It's pretty much a guarantee you're gonna have the same matte base for every look, and then you can change it up with the shimmers, and you can do more of a gold, you can do more of a pink, you can do more of a silver like I did, or you can go a little bit deeper with more of like a chocolatey brown. And that's pretty much it. Now, I could create this same kind of look with just about any of my neutral palettes. I know that I've got a couple of ColourPop palettes that can create almost this exact same look. However, the only reason why I would say this palette could actually be worth the $65 in my own opinion is that the shimmer shades within Natasha Denona's formula build so beautifully. They don't get that chunky textured kind of metallic look that a lot of more affordable brand shimmers do if you try to build them up. This just builds up in intensity and metallic finish rather than in intensity, metallic finish, and texture. And that's something that I realized when I used the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette the first time, and also experience with this palette. So that does lead me to really like Natasha Denona's metallic and shimmer formulas, and that's what justifies the price for me, because I love these cute little themed palettes like this. I don't know if I could ever justify the $125, I think is what the regular price is for the full-size palettes. I don't know if I could ever justify that price, but I can justify the $65 for these because of that metallic formula. Now don't get me wrong, the mattes perform well. They're just comparable to more affordable palettes that I've used and that I enjoy. So if you're looking for just a nice, neutral, everyday wear, beautiful shimmer containing palette, and you're okay with paying $65 for it, then this palette's for you. I feel like that's gonna be really appropriate in the scenario of if you wear shades like this every day. Like glam neutrals, like for work, or pretty much what I say every video for any neutrals palette, that also applies to this. Like for me, at work, I could see myself wearing this palette every day as just like a throw it on and be done and go kind of palette. Plus, it has instructions, so what's not to love about instructions? Because in the morning, before coffee, we all need a little bit of that. And with that, that is the lid closed on another palette. What do you guys think about the Natasha Denona Glam palette? Do you like the look that I was able to create? Do you agree with the first impressions that I had for the palette? Have you used it yourself? Please let me know down in the comments. You guys know that I always love to have a conversation with you, and I'm trying lately here, once I upload a video, to actually be in the comments, like right after I upload instead of like the next day whenever I'm not as busy. So once I upload, I will try to converse with you guys. So by all means, leave me a comment, let's talk, let me know what you guys think. And if you did enjoy this video, it'd be really cool if you wanted to leave me a like and like a thumbs up. Let me know that you thought it was a good video. That'd be really awesome of you. Also, YouTube would really like that if you did that. If you like this look and you want to see more looks like them, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and TikTok. My username is the same for everything. It's just ChristopherJMUA. And if you gain nothing out of this video, if you gain nothing out of any of my videos, please at least gain this. And that is to always remember and never forget that you are absolutely beautiful. And I love you guys. Bye!